Thank you guys for coming along to Johnny's art therapy sessions. And we'll actually learn to do a little bit of art too, which will be really good. So it's great to have you guys all along. Okay, everybody, we're going to be looking at some landscape drawing today. We're going to be using what we call scratch and rub technique. We're going to be trying to avoid using a pencil on the final product. We're going to avoid using an actual pencil. So every line on this drawing you see here, there's not one pencil line. Okay, it's all done with stencils and it's all done with rubbing, lead, and so forth. The technique is fairly simple and I'll explain it to you as we go along the way. So what we have here is a landscape image. Now we've talked about some of the equipment we need. Of course, if possible, we need a nice heavy and a soft pencil. So I look at the HB, okay, or a H6 is a nice hard pencil which we need. We also try to get a soft pencil in there if you can too, which is like a B. B is soft, B2, B4, B6, whatever you can get. Or a HB will do if you haven't got anything else, guys. Now, there's a way to compromise on some of the equipment. I would prefer you to have a stencil knife or a box cutter knife, Stanley blade. For some of the stencil cutting we're going to be doing. We're going to be cutting stencils. Also, you will need a pair of scissors if you do not have a knife. So a pair of scissors if you do not have a knife. You will need a ruler. You need a ruler with measurements, millimeters preferably. Of course, a good old trusty pencil sharpener and a good old trusty rubber. And if possible, a little compass, okay, something like that. Things make it a little tricky. What we need now are these graphite sticks. Okay, now I've got a soft one here, which is the darker one, and I've got a hard graphite stick. That's how they come, soft, hard, or medium, right? Now, if you notice here, we've got this nice dark mountain here. This one was actually done with the hard graphite, and the rest was actually done with the soft graphite. The technique that we use is like a scratch technique, which we'll look more into later on, but it's basically taking your knife or a blade or even the edge of a pair of scissors and scratching the graphite onto the page like so. You can see the little bits of graphite there. And then we use the rubbing technique, okay? That's the technique we'll be using. Just give you an idea of how it's done. That's why you need the graphites. Now, if you're having trouble getting those, don't panic too much. You can get yourself a pencil, just split it, and take your lead out of the middle of that pencil, like so, which you can still use as that scratch and rub technique. You can still scratch that onto the page and rub it in like so. So that's if you're really desperate. Yeah. So guys, look, I should also show you. Look, it's more ideal to use your fingers. You've got more control and stuff when you're actually, putting your stuff. But if you want, you can use. Let's get some of this stuff on here. You can use these makeup pads. You know these little pads. I pinched these off the wife actually. You know the ones for removing makeup. You can use them. Okay. I normally just if you put those over your finger like so, you can. Pretty much use them. Okay. If you're really, really reluctant to use your fingers. Okay. So as you can see, they work really well. And of course, if you want a bit of detail, on your mouth, you can use these little guys. Okay. Which are very popular and common. Okay. So let's get a little bit of stuff on the edge there. I'll show you what I mean. So, you can. You see how I'm blending that in there now? See that, guys? Spread that out a little bit if you want. Okay, guys? So these can be used also if you're reluctant to use fingers. Actually, these are good for even if you use fingers, for just getting those really fine details or getting a bit of a smudge where you don't want the same texture and so forth. Right? They're good for that sort of thing. Like for the outsides and things like that, outsides of your mountains and things. Where you've got right on the edge there, you really want to get a bit of definition on the very edge of your mountain. Just pick a little bit up, bring it in, smudge it on there. Okay. bit of detail on the edge of your mountain, like so. Yeah, so also very handy way to use it. Okay. That's if you're really desperate and you haven't got those things that can be done. Okay, so we'll keep a couple of those handy. Okay, so what we're going to do, guys, this is of course our final production. Now we work from the back towards the front. So the very back, of course, is the sky. Okay, and so what we do is we start from the very back, and then we move towards the front. Okay, we've got our clouds, got our sun, moon or sun or whatever you want to have there, our mountain, our water, and this front rock section here, or that could be a sandy beach, whatever you want there. Okay, so that's our final result. That result is reached by firstly drawing up our picture like so. Now, it doesn't have to be a fantastic drawing, which I'll explain to you later. After you've drawn up your drawing, we need to trace that again onto another piece of paper, onto another page. So how we go about that is we basically turn it upside down. We take a graphite pen or our piece of lead if you don't have it, and we rub it all over the back of the original drawing. Okay. When we turn that over and put it onto the new piece, of course, we take a hard pencil, HB or H6, and we start to trace that in, which I'll show you that as well. Okay. Once you've done that, that will be your template, your guide from now on. That will be your guide, that piece. And of course, here's what our stencils will look like when we cut them. We'll have a male and female template. Okay, we've got a male and female template for the clouds. We've got a male and female template for our sun or moon, and so forth. We've got our male and female template, of course, for the waterfront. Okay, so of course we talked before about how important. Okay, so guys, what's going to happen here? We're going to be doing this in stages, right? We'll be doing this drawing in stages. So we're going to start off with stage 1. Okay, let's have a look at our list of stages here. So stage 1, we're going to draw the landscape outline. Very important. You're going to need to know what you're doing. Stage 2, we're going to trace a duplicate, like I showed you a quick introduction of that. Stage 3, we're going to cut our stencils. Stage 4, we're going to looking at sorting out those borders, as in applying the borders. We're going to do our borders with you guys. Stage 5, we're going to use our stencils and use lead or graphite sticks to actually apply the actual stuff to the job so that it looks like a drawing, painting, or a landscape or whatever. So let's get started here. Now what I want you to do is just have your blank piece of paper. What the stage we're up to now is we're creating our, what we call our template. This is our template, or our, what would you call this? This would be a master. This is what we're going to go off and go from. This is going to guide us as we go along. All right. So what you firstly need is your ruler, of course, and you will need a soft pencil to do, or even a hard pencil, as long as you don't press too heavy on your paper. So what we're going to do first, we're going to start off by drawing up a square section here. This is what we're going to do. We're going to draw it in light for now. So firstly, get your ruler, come up from the bottom around about 7.5 centimeters, put a mark on one side, then go to the other side and go up 7.5 centimeters there also. Put another mark there, okay, like so. Once you've done that, I want you to just draw a very faint line through there, not too heavy, just faint, just a faint line like so. Probably hardly see my line, it's so faint, but that's all right. I'll go a little heavier for the sake of the exercise. But I want you guys to do a nice light line through there. I've got a bit of light coming through on you. I don't know if that's any better, but anyway. Okay, so once we've done that line, we need to come up again another 18.5 centimeters. Millimeters, I should say. 18.5 centimeters. Okay? Not millimeters. 18.5 centimeters. Come up another line. Draw another line through there at 18.5. And there we have another line. Okay, at 18.5 centimeters. Okay. Now, once you've done that, on the sides, you should have a line top and bottom there now. Now, I want you to do another line. This is an important line because this line here is our horizon line. Okay, that's a really important line. So from the bottom, come up. From the bottom, come up 7.5 centimeters. 7.5 centimeters from the bottom there. 7.5. Draw a line through there. For you, again, a soft line. I'm going a bit heavier for the sake of the instruction. In fact, I'm going to go a little bit heavier so you can see my lines. You can see my lines aren't really showing up there. So I don't want you to do it as heavy as me. This is strictly for display. Nice and light. As long as you can see the lines, that's the most important thing. I'm getting a bit of glare on my camera, and that's why I have to. Now, once you've done that, I want you to come in 1.5 centimeters from that side there. 1.5 centimeters that side there. Once again, a nice light line for you guys. It's a heavy line, of course. Okay. So, get a heavier brush. Same again on the other side. 1.5. 1.5 on the other side as well. Pretty simple. Get that going. Beautiful. So now we have our horizon line and our frame, what we call our frame, which is, of course, the frame is a very important part of a painting. It just brings it all together and makes it look nice and tidy. A lot of people draw to the edge of the page, but it's really important to get a nice... If ever you go into a gallery and look at a display of famous paintings, for example, they've always got this outline. Nice, inside of the work area. So there we go, guys. So once we've done that, what I'm going to do is I'm going to help you sort of find the best position for your, for example, your mountain. I'm going to help you with that. Okay. So basically, you can, if you want to go free, go free. If you want to do it your own way, please be creative. But generally, I'll help you out there. I'm going to come up 6 centimeters and then 11.5 centimeters for the top and bottom of my mountain area there. So 6.5, just a little mark on the side, 6, sorry, then 11.5 up the top there like that. Okay. Now, just for now, for hell's sake, just draw a very faint straight line across there, so you've got a rough idea where you want to go with that. Also, you'll notice that we've come in probably 13.5 centimeters in from the side, 13.5 in from there, and you'll know how far in to come in with your mountain. So right now we have 3 points to draw from. We have this point here, this point here, and this point here, right? So now it's up to you how a rock is a rock. One thing that's really wonderful about landscape, there's no such thing as a wrong line or a bad line, really, unless you really get radical. But just kind of, make a ruggedy kind of, creative scaling down till you get to that point over there. Just, feel free to just rock that pencil around whatever way you want. And at the bottom, rather than, because you've already got your little line that you've drawn there, just much smaller again, that really tiny little kind of, just sort of wobble your pencil so you get a nice wobbly, uneven line. Try not to make it a repetition thing either. Try not to make the same wobble all the way along, because then it starts to look a little bit artificial. You might get down and then up and down. Just get that sort of thing. Okay. I wouldn't worry too much about details at this point, because that'll all come later on when we're this kind of thing, crevices in the rock. Don't worry about drawing those in right now, because the time will come when we will be able to, do them with the pencil, with the stencils. So with our other little fellow over here, as you know, we've got another little guy over here. Okay. So for him, we need to come up, 3.5 up to 6.5 centimeters, all right? So put a mark at 3.5 and 6.5, right? And then, of course, our inside one, we need to come across around about 7, okay? 7 centimeters across. Right? So there's your area again. Draw a faint thin line again. Okay. Now, like I said, if you want to put them in another position, be free. There's really no way you can make a mistake this. I just did these randomly when I originally did the drawing. There's no right place or wrong place with this sort of thing. Do a little thing like that. There we go. Okay. I've done that a bit quick because I probably could have done with a little bit more character. Sharp edges and round edges. You notice like I've got a few sharp ones and a few round ones. Make it interesting. Make it really interesting. Right? There we go. So that's one there. And of course, our foreground's really easy. Come up about a centimetre and just sort of, same sort of thing, but not a straight line. You notice it's sort of waving in and out. It's like I'm going down lower, I'm going up higher. I'm getting a bit of difference there. Not too radical because it is your foreground. That you might go crazy here. You might want to make that a rock formation. You might want to put a rock out here like that or something. It's up to you guys what you want to do. That could be a rock protruding out of the thing, whatever you want. It's up to you. Go crazy if you feel like going crazy. If you've got the confidence, go ahead. Which is what I want you to do after this lesson. This is a very simple landscape. After this lesson, I want you to continue on with being creative, and you might start doing big mountains in the background, for example. Okay, because now we have our clouds. Now clouds generally will come up about 13.5 centimeters from the bottom for that one. Okay, and I will just, the clouds are also a bit tricky, so get a bit of, I like to keep a kind of a flat area on the bottom of clouds like that, like a flat area. There's different ways you can draw clouds. To be honest, it's very hard to draw a sort of fully developed cloud on both sides. It's very difficult to make it look natural. It can tend to look a little unnatural, not done right. So the top again, it's a little bit like the original mountains there, but with a bit more sort of roundness to them, right? Like a fluffiness, If you see what I mean there, I've got these kind of rounded sort of images happening here, like a burst from a cloud. Okay, so keep that in mind too. Okay, so once again, if you're not really confident about doing a straight line across, because remember how important your horizon, everything's got to kind of add up parallel with the horizon. Like if that cloud was sort of coming in here like that, it would look odd. It was on an angle. Same with your mountains, that sort of thing. So draw your artificial line there first, your guide line, I guess you could call it, and then draw in your other cloud on the other side. Once again, using nice, fluffy, rounded pieces, come in sharp. You don't want to go too sharp on your clouds. And that cloud, as you can see, is sneaking out of the frame, so you don't get the full cloud. That's another good technique for drawing. It's always good to have things not completely inside the picture, where you like looking through a camera. You don't see everything, and that enhances the look of the picture. Along the bottom again, do the same sort of wiggly line thing and come up and down a little. You can probably stretch out a little bit if you want to. You'll probably notice there I kind of cut down a little bit there. Okay, you can do that if you like. But I myself prefer to keep them nice and straight. I like to keep them like they're sort of on a plane, like so. I don't know, I just think they look better. My personal opinion there. Okay, so there we go. Now, here's where you can either use your compass or you can use a 20-cent piece. Okay, put your 20-cent piece at about the halfway mark and draw in your sunset or your moon, whatever. If you're going to do a night scene, that would be a moon, of course. If you're doing So there we go, guys. That is our drawing ready to go. And that is the end of stage 2. Okay, now stage 3 actually. Stage 1, 2, and 3 kind of in a way. Right? So there we have it. Okay. Now once we've got that, we have got to color the back of this, because this is going to be our original piece. Okay, we've got another blank piece of paper. Here's where you would go to your art piece of paper. If you've got one of these books, it'd be great. If you've got a bigger book, you would cut the piece of paper in half down the center. Okay, this way. This is your art paper. Or you might just have art paper at home for your kids or whatever. If you don't have art paper, A4 paper will do the job. You won't get as good a grain as you would on it's all about the grain on the paper, but it'll be still all right. So get yourself one of these, okay? I like to trim the end off. Not necessary for you guys, huh? Okay. Now, place your, of course we're going to do this. Now here's where if you've got your lead or you've got your graphite, you need to trace it over the top like so. Okay? All over. You'll actually see the old paint coming, see the old print, see the clip coming through, you'll see it. Like I said, if you've only got a piece of lead, that's fine too, use your lead. If that's all you have, your piece of lead, use that if you have to. Get it coming through there. Just in the areas that you need. You don't have to go over the whole page. Fill it all up. Get it all happening like that. Unless you've got carbon paper. If you've got carbon paper, that's even better. Okay? So there we go. Now we place that over the top of our. Be careful how you place it over. Try not to move it around too much because you may smudge the stuff underneath. Now what I like to do for safety here, so it doesn't move around while I'm working on it, is I'll just tag the top and bottom with a bit of tape like so. Just pinch a bit of tape over the top. Pinch a bit of tape under the bottom like so. Okay. All right. Now here is where we take a hard pencil, or HB if that's all you can muster, and we retrace over everything. Okay, so trace over everything again here, like so. Okay, draw your lines. You can go on fairly heavy if you like. You don't really have to go too heavy because that will definitely show its way through. Okay, here we go. Here we go. All right, beautiful. So like I said, you don't have to follow the same bumps that you followed before. You can follow a few different bumps if you like. It doesn't matter if it goes radical on you. If you notice there, I haven't followed the exact same bump I had before. So don't worry too much about that. You can't go wrong. Okay, so do it again. As you can see, it's a nice, simple, quick way to draw. Okay, like so. Top part, yeah, like so. Okay. What we're doing at the moment, these are going to be for our templates. That's what we're creating here now. And then here, the bottom one, I've gone way off course as you can see there, but it doesn't matter. They really can't go wrong. You really can't go wrong. I should do something real radical. I guess it depends on how many wines you've had too, how far off the line you go. But hopefully not too many at this stage. Maybe towards the end, but not right now. Get your clouds going, get that nice fluffiness happening. If you think fluffy, think the words fluffy, fluffy, you will draw fluffy. Okay, if you think sharp, you'll draw sharp. Use the words in your head. Yeah, fluffy, fluffy. Like so. Fluffy, fluffy, fluffy. All the way to the end. Let's finish that one off there. Okay, so all we have to do now, of course, is our horizon line, which doesn't go all the way through now, you notice. And you only have to go to the edge of that. So that is gone. Okay, that is now gone. But we don't have to rub that out. I'm just showing you that. But underneath that will just be there like that. You can either take your 20 cents again if you want a nice round sum, or you can just draw it by hand. It's up to you. Okay. Double check that you've got everything, and you will see that you probably have. All right. Now you will take that one up there. Okay. Now, here we go. So this is going to be our major place where we're going to finish up. All right? This is going to be where all the serious work gets done on this particular art piece of paper. All right? This is what we're going to do. So what we need to do, most importantly, remember we talked about the strips of A4 paper or art paper if you can, because it's nice and stiff. The stiffer this paper is, the better. Actually, even cardboard might be even good. Because what we've got to do now is that we've got to stick these down on here so that when we start blending things and putting things on there, it's not going to go underneath. So line that one up with a bit of tape it to the job, because I'll tell you why you don't want to tape it to the desk, is because we'll be moving this around a lot. Okay? So tape the first one down that side, take your second piece, tape that down there as well. Like so. Extra stuff before. I've used these before, by the way, in another drawing. Tape them down. Try and save this side of the line so that when you pull it off at the end of the day, you haven't got this line left on the outside. Okay? So on the outside of the line, it's good. Another one on the bottom. Right, guys. Stay like that. Like it on there. Of course, we'll have to stick this one to the other one. Right? A couple of bits of tape. If you've only got sellotape, that'll do, although I prefer you use, if you can manage to use some kind of masking tape, because it's not as heavy and it's not as hard to get off the job at the end of the day. So very important that we get it all nice and solid. Okay, here we go. And an ambulance going on in the background there. So there we go, guys. We've got the outside of our tracing ready to go. Now is when we start to get into the stage where we start cutting templates, right? Okay. We've done our borders, and then we're going to cut stencils. We're going to cut our stencils. Here we go. So very simple. I thought, because you guys would probably be mostly using scissors, I'd use a pair of scissors too. So we're going to create our male and female templates. Okay, so basically, let's start with the big. Now, with your, like if you use your pair of scissors, just sort of make sure you don't get too much repetition going on. Be very careful, because you can find yourself doing a repetitive action, and then it'll look a little bit ordinary. So try and follow the line a little bit. Like I said, you don't have to follow it directly to the course. So let's get that one done there, like so. Take it right to the very end. Okay. Come in from the other side and do your other one. Okay, you need to keep your background intact if you can. If you can manage to keep your background intact, that'd be great, all right? So, sometimes you might have to really turn that scissors to really get a nice rounded kind of thing going on there. Clouds are going to be a challenge for your scissors, for your pair of scissors, but you see how I'm actually moving the paper. I'm keeping my scissors in the one spot, but I'm moving this paper back and forth. That way you get a nice natural rounded thing. You don't get this 50-cent piece kind of thing going on. So this nice rounded kind of action. I'm going back in there, and I'm going to go really sharp on the end there. Okay, so there we have our male and female template. Okay, like so. Male and female template. Okay, very good. Put that aside. Cut your other templates out. Okay. Now we've got our little sun. This is going to be difficult in the sense that we've got to get across, like so, and then we go up over the back. Okay. Like I said, a challenge with the scissors, even for me, because I don't normally use scissors. I normally use the stencil knives. Okay, so let's get a start here. Just circle out like so. Once again, moving your paper to try and keep that nice roundness going on. Well, this is a challenge, I can tell you that. And there we go. We've got our sun. It's not too bad. It could be better, but it's not too bad at all. As long as not, it doesn't matter if you go off the line. That's not the important thing. The important thing is to keep that nice roundness. That's right. Male and female template there. Sometimes you use the female template for something, but not always. But continue on, guys. I want you to cut all those. I want you to cut your clouds in the same way. Just come in from the side for this cloud, all right? Come in from the side for this cloud, okay? Just come in off the border. Same with this little mountain here, and the same with your beach scene down the bottom here. Come in from the side, start cutting them. Okay, let's get them all cut out, right? That's a knife. Those that want to use a stencil knife, same sort of technique. Using the wrist, you see how I flick between my thumb and my finger when I'm going around bends. It's very easy to get a nice kind of motion going on here. You can see how I'm radically doing that, right, all the way along the front there. And there we go. We have, everybody. So that's for using stencil knives. That's a good technique. Okay, guys, so by the time you've cut all the stencils, this is basically what you should have. Foreground, what we call the midground, okay, with our pencils, so forth, and then our background, okay. So there we go. That should be it. Now, once you've done that, what we've got to do then is take each of these parts. Let's start with our cloud at the top. We need to take our cloud. We need to bring them here. We need to get a couple of bits of paper, tape, as in like maybe masking tape. Try and avoid sticky tape if you can, but if that's all you've got, that'll do. So, you fold it over, like you do at school when you put the kids' work up on the board or whatever, and you've got no blue tack. In fact, if you have got some blue tack, oh no, it's a bit oily blue tack, I wouldn't